Hello and welcome back to Inmr. In today's podcast, I'm going to be previewing Brighton's third Europa League game against Ajax at the Ajax, taking place on Thursday night. This is arguably Brighton's biggest Europa League test so far. It's a game that is against a massive club, but it's also a huge chance to get our first 3 points. They've got a rich history, but at the minute they're not doing well at all, Ajax. So this is a massive chance for us to take 3 points and climb up that Group B table. Ajax did win the Europa League in the 1991-92 season, and were also runners-up in the 2016-17 Europa League, where they lost 2-0 to Man United in the final. This one's going to be a little bit different today just because of what's going on at Ajax at the minute. Their manager, Maurice Steen, has been sacked after just 11 matches in charge. Doing the tactics for a manager that isn't here would be pointless, and there aren't many tactics you can find for this new manager that's been brought in for the interim period. So we're going to go over form as we usually do, and then in today's one, instead of looking at the tactics, we're going to look more at each individual player and how they're going to play rather than how the team sets up in terms of its tactics. And then of course at the end we'll go over the key players and then my score prediction. We'll start off with Brighton's form. In their last 4 league matches, they've won 1 and lost 3. Their last win was against Bournemouth at the end of September. We haven't been brilliant at the start of this season. We have had a hard run of games, and the injury crisis, which we're going to get onto at the club, hasn't helped at all. However, 1 win is better than none, which is what Ajax have currently got in terms of their recent form. They've lost all 4 of their last 4 league matches, conceding 13 goals. Most recently, they lost 4-3 to Utrecht, who were bottom of the league, which obviously resulted in Maurice Steen being sacked. He has been replaced by Hedwiges Maduro. He's been appointed as interim manager for Ajax's next 2 crucial games, of course against Brighton and then PSV on Sunday, who are currently top of the league and are 22 points ahead of Ajax at the minute. Maduro was previously the assistant manager but now has full responsibilities until Ajax can find a new manager. So straight onto the starting 11 then. In goal for Brighton, I've gone for Jason Steele. He started both Europa League matches so far, so I can't see why Roberto De Zerbi would want to change that for this game. He is a good goalkeeper. I personally prefer Bart Verbruggen, but I can see why Steele is in the squad, and I don't think it's going to change for this game. Lewis Dunk, there isn't much to say about him. He's one of the few players who can't not start. He's a no-brainer in my opinion. Easy decision. Partnering him, I've gone for Van Heck. Igel started versus City, so I'd assume that was to rest Van Heck for this game. He's continuously improving. I like what I'm seeing from him, and he does partner Dunk quite well. Right back, I've gone for Joel Veltman. Our fullback situation is an absolute nightmare. I think Veltman is the best choice for right back. You could put him at left back because he is experienced, but I've decided to keep him in his natural position, and then at left back I've put James Milner, who's also very experienced, can play anywhere he's asked to really. He's played a few times at left back for Liverpool when needed and did a job there. Obviously Estupiñán's out injured. Lamptey is due to be back, but I don't think he'll start. I think he could get subbed on, but he's definitely not ready to be in the starting 11. I don't think De Zerbi will want to risk it with the current issues. Against Man City, Solly March was obviously doing a great job there. Naturally a right winger, but he has played at left back before De Zerbi's time and was doing well there, while Lamptey and Pervis Estupiñán were out. He has done his ACL in that game against Man City, so he's going to be out for 9 to 12 months, it's predicted, and I think, unfortunately, that is the end of him in a Brighton shirt. Centre midfield spot, I've gone for Pascal Gross, another one that you have to start. I think he's going to be key for us in this game. We'll speak more about him later. Ajax fans I've spoken to have said that in the midfield it's almost non-existent. It's so poorly organised. Some have described it as almost a 5-0-5 formation, in the sense that you've got that defence and then attack, and there's just no structure in the midfield. So I think that Pascal Gross is going to be able to capitalise on that, if that is true. On the night I think he's going to have a lot of time on the ball. With him in the midfield then, I've gone for Billy Gilmour, another creative player who could benefit from Ajax's poor structure in the middle. I really like how Balaba's playing. He didn't do the best against Man City, obviously caused an error which led to a goal. I do think he's got good potential, he is a good player, but I don't think he's going to be needed to sweep away any danger in the midfield. If Ajax aren't strong, you want creative, attacking-minded players starting so that we can create lots of chances from the get-go. So that's why I've gone for Gilmour and Gross. It's a bit more offensive, but both of them can get back and do a job defensively. But I think having players that want to go forward will benefit us more. On the right wing then, of course no Solly March. I've gone for Ansu Fati. He got a goal against City at the weekend. It looks like his confidence is increasing game by game. and he could cause a real threat down that right-hand side on Thursday night. And I do think he's going to be able to make an impact going forward. We've got Simon Adingra, who started against City. I think that was obviously once again to rest Fati, and he can also be a player that comes on, but personally I would start Ansu Fati. On the left, another no-brainer, it's Kaoru Mitoma. Played really well versus Marseille in the last Europa League game. Hoping for the same against Ajax. Brighton will need him to be on top form on Thursday. He's someone that could provide a lot of chances for our strikers. Centre forward, just behind the out-and-out striker, I've gone for João Pedro. This can easily be adapted. Yes, he'll be just behind the striker, but if needed, you can shuffle that so that they're as a 2. I think playing him a little bit further back gives him that little bit more time and space to be creative, as we know he can be. It also means that he's not going to be the last man that Brighton rely on. He should always have an option if the shot isn't on. And that striker I'm going to put just in front of him is going to be Danny Welbeck. I think in this game he's going to get a lot of chances. He only needs to take a few in order for Brighton to get the win. He's an experienced striker. Everybody knows what he's capable of, and he should do well with João Pedro partnering him. As I said, they can come in and be 2 up top, or João Pedro can drop off, create some more chances, drive forward and shoot, but if the shot's not on, as I said, into Welbeck and can shoot from there. Moving on to Ajax's predicted starting 11. In goal, I've gone for Jay Gorta. He's been the starting goalkeeper whilst Rulli is injured. He's conceded 17 goals in 7 Eredivisie matches, which is why I think Welbeck could potentially get a goal or 2 on Thursday. He was subbed off as well in his last game against Utrecht, so he's going to be low on confidence, which is never nice for a player, but for Brighton that's exactly what they want, a goalkeeper who potentially won't be believing in himself as much. Centre-back, I've gone for João Hato. Ajax fans believe he is their best player throughout all of this mess. Very mature footballer for just 17 years of age. Calm on the ball and has a perfect mix of strength and good technique. However, due to his lack of experience, he does have a mistake in him that Brighton could take advantage of. Partnering him at centre-back is Josip Sutalo. Now, a lot of reports have come out about him that he's not enjoying his football at Ajax. Very homesick, wants to leave the club. That gives Brighton a big chance to take advantage. If you've got a centre-back whose head's not really in it and doesn't want to be at the club, you're going to target that centre-back, especially when you've got Hato next to him, who is considered by Ajax fans as one of their best players. Sutalo is going to be one of those that you want to target, you want to drive towards. He is an experienced centre-back, yes, but that doesn't matter if he doesn't want to be there. For right-back, I've gone for Devine Wrench. He's being looked at by some top Premier League clubs at the minute, and you can see why. He's a really exciting fullback who's competent with both feet. He's good both at the back and going forward as well. Definitely a player to look out for if he does start against Brighton. And then on the other side, on the left, I've gone for Borna Sosa. He got 2 assists in his last game, creative going forward. From what I've seen from Ajax, it does look like they have their fullbacks overlapping, and in that game it did work. So maybe it's something they'll continue to do even without Maurice Steen. It is something that they were doing well with their fullbacks pushing up and creating. So potentially that's something to look out for. I think Ajax are going to play in a 4-3-3 formation, which is obviously very common in Dutch football. So those 3 in midfield, I've chosen Benjamin Tahirovic, who's another young player, just 20 years old, but he's holding on to his place in the squad. Quite creative, he always looks to go forward when he receives the ball and gets stuck in when he's defended too. I don't think he's going to be a massive player for them, but he is someone that I'm excited to see more of. Other centre mid, I've gone for Kenneth Taylor. He works hard, but this depends on how well he's playing. From what I've heard from Ajax fans, if he's playing well, he works hard, very good defensively, and is very intense on that press. But if it's not going well for him, he's almost invisible. It's sort of like he stops trying. That's a player that we could see do really, really well if it goes Ajax's way. But if Brighton get a couple of early goals, you could see him just totally flatline and not show any interest. Final midfielder, I've gone for Christian Hillenson. He was man of the match versus Utrecht, got 2 goals. I think he made a big statement in this game. He's still only 19. It's a very young Ajax squad, actually. He's earned himself a start, in my opinion. He hasn't played loads for Ajax this season. Steven Berghuis hasn't been good enough. He hasn't started the season well at all. He's a lot older, a lot more experienced. But I think in this period where they're not really expected to get anything, in the Europa League, PSV, they're not expected to get anything either. So I think for this, just test out the young midfielder who did well in the previous game. Why not give him a chance to show what he can do again in matches that you're not expected to be the favourites in anyway? On the right wing, we've gone for Carlos Borges. I spoke about him a lot last year in the podcast while he was at City. He's doing well at Ajax despite the circumstances. People that have followed the podcast for a while will know all about him. He's got a lot of pace, creates lots of key chances from the flank, very dangerous one-on-one. This could be a massive issue for Brighton, as Milner doesn't have any pace and will be playing out of position. On the left, I've gone for captain Steven Bergwijn. He's got quality on his day, but it hasn't been his day for a while. He's had 4 goals so far this season, yes, but they've only won one of those games in which he scored. So when he does score, they aren't often game changers, which I think reflects him quite well. Same as when he was at Spurs, he never really scored game-changing goals. I think it happened once against Leicester. But apart from that, you never really saw him score important goals. It was only that one game. He's one to keep an eye on just in case, but I don't think he's going to be a key player for Ajax. Finally, up top, I've gone for Brian Broby. He's a typical strong target man that holds up the ball very well. Has a lot of speed too. He likes to heavily press the centre-backs to force a mistake so he can capitalise and get a goal. I think it's going to be a really exciting battle against Lewis Dunk. 2 very physical players. And I'd like to see how that pans out on the night. So now that we've gone through the starting 11, I'm going to pick out, as usual, 3 key players. Starting off with Brighton, I've gone for Pascal Gross. If we look at his stats versus Marseille, he created the most chances in the game with 5 chances. He got 1 goal, which obviously got Brighton back into the game, and 83% passing accuracy and won 100% of his tackles. He's a very consistent player. Brighton will be hoping for more of the same against Ajax. Great going forward, really good coming back as well. He's going to be really important. That midfield area is already going to be where the game's won, in my opinion. And if he can produce the same quality that we know he can, then he's going to have a massive impact on the night. Second key player is Ansu Fati. Looking at his cameo performance against Man City, he only played 24 minutes, but created 1 big chance. Wasn't dispossessed once, had a 79% passing accuracy, and of course got a goal. As I said, brilliant cameo performance. He could do that and more if he gets to start. He's slowly increasing that confidence, as we said earlier. And I think if, as we said, Sosa is going to be pushing up at left back, there's going to be a lot of space for him to drive into when Brighton do win the ball back. Final key player then for Brighton, I've gone for Danny Welbeck. If we look at his game against United, where he played about an hour, he got a goal, created 1 chance, again wasn't dispossessed a single time, had an 87% pass accuracy. This was a game that was a little while ago, but it's just one where he showed his experience and quality. There's certain games for Brighton where he does exactly what he did in his prime. He's getting a bit older, but there's chances where you see that class is permanent, and Ajax do seem like a team that Welbeck could do this against. Key players for Ajax then, I've gone for Jarell Hato. If we look at his stats against Ajax Athens, which was their last Europa League game, he won 7 duels, made 7 recoveries, completed the most successful dribbles with 4, and made 6 passes into the final third. Now this obviously highlights how good he is defensively, but also provides something going forward. Similar to Lewis Dunk in a way, where he wins the ball back and he creates something going forward straight away, even from the back. He looks to start attack as soon as he wins the ball to catch out the opposition, so Brighton do need to be careful of that. Another key player is striker Brian Broby. In his last game against Utrecht, he created 1 chance, won a penalty, had a 75% pass accuracy, and although he only had 23 touches of the ball, things happened when he did have it. He's one of them where he might not see a lot of it, but when he gets his chance, he takes it. 23 touches, but once he got that ball, he created a chance, he won a penalty. Yes, they lost, but he was a spark up top. He's had 3 goals so far this season, and he is a striker with great potential. Final key player, he is going to be the biggest threat, in my opinion, is Carlos Borges. In their first Europa League match against Marseille, he got a goal and an assist, created 3 big chances, and had a 91% passing accuracy rate. He put in a good shift against Ajax Athens too. It seems like he's loving a European night, so I think that's something Brighton need to be wary of. He's a great provider and can get a goal himself too. And as I said, he is Ajax's biggest threat. To finish off then, we'll go for my score prediction. I think it's going to be a 3-1 win for Brighton, just with what's going on with Ajax at the moment. If bottom of the league Utrecht are beating them, I don't see why Brighton couldn't. We're not playing too well either at the moment. But yeah, as I said, with everything that's going on with Ajax, it doesn't look like they can get a win at the moment. So I'm hoping that Brighton can get their first victory in the Europa League. Their defence have conceded so many goals this season, so I think with Brighton's creative abilities and clinical attackers, they can capitalise. However, Brighton haven't kept a clean sheet in 14 games, so Ajax will most likely get 1 past them. I'm looking forward to the game, so we will just see what happens on the night. That is where I'm going to end today's podcast. Thank you very much for listening, and I will be back soon with another one.